Now, once you have a strategy statement or insight, it's really important that you kind of rewrite it a number of times. And one of the most important things is understanding the role of tension and making sure that you're adding tension to the strategy or statement. That is one way to make it way more powerful. So I want to explain the importance of tension here, and show without tension, you've got the risk of your insights falling flat and not capturing the attention of your audience. So I want to break it down, and I'm going to show you tension and how you create tension in a statement through a number of examples. So let's get into it. The first thing is tension's kind of a little bit like salt. It adds a little bit of bite to any dish. Any strategy statement that you've got, if you add tension in, it's going to capture people's attention a lot easier. So you should always try to take at least a couple of passes at adding tension to your statement. And it's one of the easiest things you can do to make a strategy statement taste better. Taste better, salt. I'm still using that analogy, so still going with it. Sorry for that. So there's 3 key steps here. With adding tension, what you want to do is you want to write a draft of your insight or strategy statement. Write it plainly. Don't worry too much. Just try to capture the thought. You're trying to capture the main thrust of your argument, or what you think is going to uncover the problem in a new way. Now, the next stage is what I like to call finding the poles. And what finding the poles is working out what is the opposite of that thought and seeing if you can add that into the statement to create some energy. So tension is the energy that you get when you get 2 magnets. It's kind of like when you're putting 2 magnets together, and that energy that you feel when you're trying to push them together. That is what you're looking for. You're trying to put energy into your statement, and finding those tensions is a really easy way to do that. Now, the final step there is all you need to do is you need to take that around the office, take it shopping, take it to the creative director, see if they're interested in it. That's the best thing you can do, is just show other people. You don't want it to keep it in your head for too long. It's really important. They might build on it or let you kind of throw it away very easily. So we're going to use the example of eTax. So they know their audience of graduated students who are using their parents as accountants, who are seeking independence, but they are afraid of the possibility of making mistakes on their tax filing. So we want them to sign up for eTax by showing them that how eTax allows them to conquer young adulthood without the horror stories. So here we've got our statement. This is our kind of strategy statement down the bottom here that we want to rework. So it's saying by showing them how eTax allows them to conquer young adulthood without the horror stories. Now, right now, it's lacking a bit of energy. It's lacking a little bit of tension here. There's everything I'm kind of nodding my head at. There's nothing that's kind of surprising me in a new way. So showing them how QuickTax allows them to conquer young adulthood without the horror stories. That's always what we want to do. Of course, we want to avoid the horror stories. And in young adulthood, that sounds like a great idea too. However, what we need to do here is work out, okay, well, where's the tension? Where's the opposites that we can add in here that really bring this statement a little bit more life? Now, if we see here, we've underlined the word young and horror. So if we think of young, the opposite of young is old. So that's pretty easy. Then we think of horror or mistakes. The opposite of mistakes is getting everything correct. And we're seeing here actually 2 nice things come out right now. So young, mistakes, old, wise. And they kind of work out. It's like, that's how we think. When you're young and dumb and you're making mistakes. And then you're old and wise. And that's the other side of the fence. So what you try to do is look at whether you can add 2 sentences to get 2 parts of this together, or see if any of that connects over the different polar opposites? How can you bring those together? So here, one of the thoughts I had was about growing up. And the thing about growing up is when you don't make mistakes, it's kind of the biggest mistake that you make. When you live your life really sheltered and don't take any risks, that usually leads to a pretty boring life. And the movie I've got there, I think it's Step Brothers, where they live at home till they're in their middle ages and they're still living at home. And so because they haven't made any mistakes, they've actually made the biggest mistake because they've stayed with their parents for the longest amount of time. And so here, what we're trying to do is we're trying to reframe it of saying a mistake. Yeah, you want to make these small mistakes. You don't want to wait till you're really old and make a big mistake. So I think there's a lot you could see there. You might as well change over now and make small mistakes, or we can help you rather than make the biggest mistake, which is letting your parents do your accounting all your life. So here, what we've done is actually sharpened up the insight by putting the opposite in there, by showing them that their parents make their choices for them every year is the biggest mistake. So we've tried to use that insight here of not making mistakes is actually the biggest mistake, because usually not making mistakes is the best thing you can do. It's never said the biggest mistake. No one would ever put that together. So we've put the tension in there, and that's led us to write the strategy statement by showing them that letting their parents make their choices for them every year is the biggest mistake. So we've kind of flipped it a little bit and put a little bit more tension in there for that statement. Another example here is Victoria Bitter, one of the biggest beer brands in Australia, and they had a brief around solar. So the news was that they wanted us to tell the audience about was VB will be brewed with 100% offset solar electricity in 2020. The brand idea that's been around for 30 years is for a hard-earned thirst. And it was all about the knockoff beer. Australians work hard and they deserve that beer when they knock off that they can just take down, and it's for that hard-earned thirst that they've really earned. The target audience is beer drinkers who are becoming conscious about their impact on the environment. So we've got socially conscious drinkers, this new generation. So the goal we want is to see VB as the beer that does right by the environment. Okay, so we've got a beer brief here. Now let's look at what we've got here for a hard-earned thirst. So it's all about earning your thirst here. Now, the interesting thing about solar energy is when it comes to the sun, it's often the thing that either gives us energy or takes our energy. So in one concept, in one side of things, it is actually the thing that drains us. It often you feel completely exhausted. But the thing about solar energy is it takes that thing that exhausts you and then it turns it into another type of energy, which is usually powering your house. But in this case, we've got a really interesting kind of tension there as well, because for hard-earned workers, for people who are out all day working in the sun, it is actually the thing that will quench their thirst. So what adds to your thirst now helps quench your thirst, which is the sun. So usually, again, the giving, taking, we've got the tensions, the polar opposites, and we're pushing them together to get the energy in the statement. So the get to buy here would be get beer drinkers who are becoming conscious about their impact on the environment to see VB as the beer that does right by the environment by showing them the sun that works up their thirst is also what powers their drink. You can see the campaign. I've kind of left a link in there for you guys to check out later, but a really good campaign, really good insight. The next one I want to show you is for Carhartt, the workwear brand. And so what they wanted to do was they wanted to create a campaign that was all around the new rookies or new skilled labor workers. So new skilled labor workers, if you're a rookie, if you're an apprentice, your first day on the job, you're usually the one who needs to buy new uniforms and equipment. So they were wondering, how do we get this new cohort of people in? Well, they had Labor Day that came up. And the interesting thing about Labor Day is that it's all about recognizing and praising those who are the laborers, those who build the country. And so the interesting thing here is that when you start your career, when you're apprenticed, you're usually not praised. It's usually the unaccomplished. You're the unaccomplished. You don't have any accomplishments, so you're not going to get praise. The people who do get the praise are the people with the accomplishments, the people who have built the houses, built the plumbing, everything. So we usually recognize and celebrate the people who have already achieved. Where this is not praised, the praise never comes to those who haven't started achieving yet. So the interesting thing that Carhart thought was, what if we flip that on their head? And what if we praised those who are yet accomplished? And they realized that the ones that need the praise the most and encouragement are the rookies who have the courage to follow in the veterans' footsteps. Because laboring is not seen as a sexy thing, and people feel, a lot of hard workers, labor workers, feel like they're not recognized or respected, that the glamour of the industry is kind of gone. So Carhart could potentially flip this and say, hey, the people we should be praising are the ones that are stepping in those boots and taking that tough job, even though they know the praise isn't there yet. So they kind of flipped it and pulled the tension in here, which I love. I love this campaign. So they got skilled labor workers who always need good workwear to do their job to see Carhart as the go-to brand for every hardworking man by showing them that the hardest workers is the rookie they all have been at some point. Again, great campaign. You'll see that later if you go into the presentation. Last one here is Dashlane, which is an online password app, which reminds you of all your passwords. The insight that they had here is, we rely on computers to remember everything, but with passwords, the onus is on us. So a really interesting thought. Usually technology remembers everything. This technology is the one place that nothing is remembered. So the get was people who are frustrated by memorizing passwords to see Dashlane as the ticket out of password purgatory by reminding people of the trauma of forgetting your password. So here we've got technology on one end. It's usually makes everything easier. And then we've got the thing here of it's actually making life more difficult. So the whole campaign was on bringing that tension of what should be easy has now become really difficult. Relying on computers to remember everything, now we have to rely on us for, technologies versus humans. Who are we relying on? They've found the polar opposites. Usually technology, computers relying on the computer, passwords relying on us, and really play off the two there. So again, tension is just about pulling it out, underlining the words in your strategy and working out what are the polar opposites, and can I bring that tension in somehow? Does it make it a more exciting statement if I can bring the tension in? So hopefully you've seen the importance of tension. I've shown you how to write in the tension there, and the importance of breaking down the duality of the tension and putting it all together, and how it can make your strategy statement, single-minded proposition, or your insight a hell of a lot more compelling to your audience. So as always, let me know if you've got any questions in the comments.